Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast, Cocktails in Business, where we discuss the latest topics in business, in management, in digital, in technology, and many, many other things. As usual, I'm your host, Srikant Subramanian, and joining me is our resident producer, Dr. Meenal Mapsekar. Today, we're going to talk about something very, very special, right? It's one of our favorite topics. It's the topic of what we essentially love to do and kind of talk about in this particular time. It's about artificial intelligence, and specifically, our topic today is AI-based image creation and its future, right? With that in mind, we've got two very special guests that we'd like to invite onto our podcast. I'm going to introduce them to you in just a little bit. Starting off, our first guest is Aditya Verma. Aditya Verma. Aditya works cross-functionally at Mirum India, leveraging his background in brand strategy and planning with impactful storytelling and campaign execution. He currently leads the creative tech practice at Mirum, upskilling his team with AI and Web 3.0 technologies with a larger aim to still free you from the category clutter and make pivotal choices in sharing your brand story with the world. Welcome, Aditya.
Hi, nice to be here.
Awesome. Our second guest today is Deepak Sethuraman. Deepak is director of voice AI bots at Yellow.AI, the leading conversational AI startup specializing in the development of advanced conversational agents. With an unyielding passion for generative AI, Deepak is working in revolutionizing the human machine interaction, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in natural language, understanding the speech and recognition policy. I have absolutely no idea what I just said, and I hope that Deepak will be able to explain what that profile really means. With that being said, welcome Deepak.
Thanks a lot, Srikant. Thanks everybody for inviting me here.
Awesome. I'm so happy to see both of you here. It is a bright and sunny and extremely hot Monday afternoon when we're recording this podcast. So I hope that you are all cool and happy wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this podcast, whenever you're listening to it, right? So I'm going to kind of jump right into our thought here and just talk about the general discussion topics that we kind of figure out. So first, I want to kind of have a general conversation. So Deepak, I thought I'll start with you. What are some of your general thoughts when it comes to specifically AI generated images?
Yeah. So this particular era in AI is like the next big thing that I see. I mean, we have had instances of such events happening in the tech world, right? It was the web boom in the past during the end of the millennium, the last millennium, and then we had the smartphone boom where it made sure that everybody on the planet has access to the latest tech on their mobile phones itself, right? Latest services and everything. And now this is going to be the next big thing that's going to come up. So very exciting times for everybody. And Gen AI by itself is such a vast field. I mean, it's ranging everywhere from your text to audio to image to video, and I don't know what else it's gonna come up with. But it's new things. We're learning everything, a new thing every day, and it's gonna be exciting for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Deepak. What about you, Aditya? What are your thoughts?
Specifically when it comes to image-based AIs, I mean, there are a few that have cropped up. Midjourney is one of them. Stable Diffusion is another. There are also, image-based input kind of, AI software. So they're taking in and they're being trained on your data. So if you're a brand, you could put in your credentials, your look and feel of the product, and then kind of train the module to have the image be something that could be put out in the market directly. So yeah, interesting times. One thing that we have to reconcile is, where does creativity sit with all of this? Where is the new frontier in terms of finding something unique for a consumer? Given that all of this is accessible, all of this has been trained to for the AI to come up with already. So everything that has been done under the sun is already something that is feeding into that brain of the AI, and we have to find ways to harness it for the benefit of our consumers, but also be wary that we're not in a recursive position where we're giving up on creativity altogether, because there's a fair amount of things that human beings can do that the AI will never be able to. So yeah.
Awesome. That makes sense. That's actually makes a lot of sense. And in your experience working with for example tools like Midjourney and so on, where do you see like some advantages, maybe some pros and cons? If you can just talk to us a little bit about that.
So we've been trying to work with AI tools for quite a while, and recently it's gone viral. But Midjourney has been around for almost a year, and we've been there have been friends of mine who were playing with it. They had a subscription to it. I think the immediate benefit is, putting something together in a scratch form for the user or the consumer to see and be able to communicate that vision very clearly, whether it be an image, whether it be a storyboard for a film that you're making, a television commercial that you're making. All of that can be done. What is also interesting is, particularly for writers, I believe it's a minefield, because we've and I think the most amount of growth that people will see in this world will be writers, because they're able to craft that prompt very well, and at the same time they're ones who start on a blank page, right? Like, so they're the ones who are kind of dreaming up something, and then you have your technicians come in and figure out how it's going to be, how will things work, how's the lighting going to be, how's the production design going to be. Obviously those are creative fields, but derived creative fields. So for a writer, I think it's important to kind of upskill a writer to the degree of being able to learn all of these parts of the equation that they have, and then kind of think, so that they can think a couple of steps ahead and be still valuable in this time where all of this is possible with AI. Yeah.
Nice, fantastic. So I want to pivot a little bit to back to Deepak. So Deepak, I just the way I'm thinking about it is, I think one of the things that you do at Yellow is basically you create conversational AIs, and that's one of the things
Yep.
that you actually specialize in, right?
Correct.
So do you see potential from like your own AI tool evolving to, like, for example, today we have to prompt Mid-Journey, right? We have to
Mhm.
prompt, we have to say, imagine a man sitting outside on the balcony doing a podcast with other people,
Yep.
right? Essentially, right? But do you see conversational AI kind of helping out with that? Do you see sometime in the future that we don't have to really do prompts, but basically just have like a regular conversation? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, so basically, even prompt-driven thing is something more. It's more of a conversational thing, right? Where people are just conversing with the tool to just say what exactly they want. So for us, while creating conversational bots, what we're doing is more of a goal-based approach. So basically, you just tell the if you are building up bot for a specific company, right? You just tell the goal as to what your bot goal is supposed to be. It could be like creating, generating a lead or trying to sell a particular product to the end consumer, right? So in the middle of all that, you don't have to train the bot. Nobody has to sit and train the bot to tell exactly, understand and tell exactly what is there. It will give you all the answers, and in the end still try to by itself, in a conversational format, sell you what it wants to sell. So it's gonna be driven that way. And again, as Aditya said, Gen AI is a big enabler, right? You really do not have to know the technical terms of things in order to become a generator right now. I think you can generate content without knowing the techniques. Earlier, you would have to do a 2 3 month course to just understand the basics of Photoshop, for example. But now I think people can just try out the different prompts and figure out, okay, what is the next, how to deliver what they want in their own imagination.
I do see concerns about that, though. I feel, it makes you a passive creator in a way, and I don't know, like, if that's the best thing to happen, especially in a market where you're trying to distinguish yourself. If anything, it should accelerate is a person's ability to learn more about things more quickly, so that they have a larger repository to work with, to experience, and to also build from. Um, yeah, it's funny that he mentioned the conversational bot bit, because one of our larger frustrations in today's world has been all of these service industry bots that we kind of interact with, and they answer you and then they go away, and then they answer you and with no context of the earlier conversation, more often than not. That is obviously changing with chat gpt, and how natural language processing in today's day and age is more sophisticated. It has recursive thinking abilities. um, yeah, so what I'm happy about is that the initial frustrations of working with an AI, or like responding to an AI, has gone away. So there's some human uh, element to it as well.
Yeah, but definitely, even to what you said, right? It's going to be the outlier, or it's basically given a single benchmark for everybody, right? Now it's going to be the people who are able to cross that benchmark and showcase something more from the creative side, who are going to stand out in this environment. If everybody is doing a Gen AI image, how will you stand out in front of all of that? I think that's going to be the thing that's going to drive the next creative wave in the industry.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. So I'm gonna jump. Dr. Meenal, what do you think? What do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
I think you want me to particularly talk how, if at all, this applies to healthcare as such. Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
So my thoughts are, patient education is one of the thing where we can specifically use this. If you see, there is a lack of patient conversation that happens, between healthcare providers and the patients. So we when we go to go to a doctor for consultation, sometimes we are not satisfied with the amount of consultation fees that we pay to the doctor, and eventually the time that he or she gives us, because they are not able to explain to us the nitty gritties of things that they will do. Or for example, if you have to undergo a surgery, while the surgeon will try to give you a brief thing of what he's going to do with your body, you may eventually not be able to understand, because it is only small time that he has and only limited resources. So maybe AI can be useful here, where the complex things that happen inside the body could actually be made out in some visuals or films with animation using the AI, and then the surgeon, in the same 5 minutes, explains to the patient that these are the things, this is how interior of the body looks like, and this is what I'm going to do on you. So that is one thing, that AI can
Yeah.
help shorten the time and bring imagination into picture, actually, for the patient to see what can happen with his body, what is going to happen. The other ways, healthcare marketers can also use AI in a way is, lot of these new brands or products that they introduce, and they want to show how that particular product is going to interact with a patient's body, which is very important for an HCP to prescribe a particular brand to their to his patients, his or her patients. So that particular mechanism of how the brand works, it could be brought out by AI, using AI, I think, in an easier format than creating each frame and making videos. AI could probably help make that process easier. So I think there are a lot of uses of AI, in healthcare. However, validation is an important thing. Eventually, you need like a medical person to validate what AI has generated, whether it is actually medically correct. So that is it. So you cannot eliminate a medical person eventually. I feel.
Yeah, I know, I know,
But
I know
yeah,
that.
the process
Definitely
can be
not.
made
Definitely not.
very short
Hopefully not.
and simple, I think, using AI.
Yeah, that's actually makes a lot of sense in terms of what you were talking about. And considering, I'm just gonna want to take a cue from what you were talking about in terms of elimination. Like in my head, when we talk about AI, one of the things that comes up is the Turing test, right? Which is for maybe some of our audience members who don't know, the Turing test is basically based on the creator, this guy called Alan Turing was a scientist, and it's basically this test that kind of shows, or kind of it talks about, can artificial intelligence completely replace a human being, right? So in terms of its interaction, are you completely able to replace it? And I'll put this out to Aditya first, right? I think even today at this point, at least in this gen of the AI, when we ask it to create an image or come up with something, I think there are still some hints that kind of show that it's almost machine oriented, right? From a creative perspective, you know just in your head, what do you think are some things that maybe the AI has to tweak to say that okay, tomorrow if I ask it to create an image, it'll basically be something that's very specific to like how a human being would do
Yeah.
it, right? I mean, do you have any thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
so I think what we also first of all need to understand it is that the AI is trying to satisfy a user trying to put in a prompt at that moment. That's the immediate goal of the AI. It does not have any long term like goal of achieving its own intelligence. That has not been built into it. So as long as it
Yeah,
satisfies you, like when you're talking to it, it is, its job is done. So that performative aspect of it
yeah,
is almost like a pantomime. It's trying to show you that it's human in all ways and forms, in terms of how it writes, in terms of like being empathetic, in terms of giving you the desired result that you're looking for. But again, if you question it or if you do certain tweaks, and this is continued since the beginning of AI. Whenever you can game the system to see if the uh, if the if the AI is actually intelligent, if it does have any degree of cognition, or is it something that is reducing whatever conversation we're having with the AI to a data point and then throwing a result. And some of the experiments that we've done recently, we've also seen that while you can put in an image and ask the AI to train on that image and then give us a result. There
mm,
are certain sophisticated things you can do, like reduce the pixels of the image, for instance, and it won't be able to understand, that it was the image of a penguin, for instance, or if it was a leader from any country.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that bias is there. So for the AI, it's still reduction to 0 and 1 binary codes, and then figuring out what that is, and then giving you a result as of that. um, there have been other instances where when you have things that are very dense, like whether you feed in philosophical essays, or something which requires a lot of thinking and a mindful, let's say, like understanding, that the AI will not be able to do. It does a summary that is that of equivalent of an 11-year-old. So we have to be mindful of how the AI will give you stuff, and it's building in its own self deception into it as well. So it's appearing very intelligent. It's saying that, oh yes, I know this, I will tell you what it is. But you have to be mindful, or do I really want to like trust the AI with the answer that it's giving
yeah.
me, or is it something that could be
Yeah.
that I have to verify?
So the AI
So
is
there's a term
so the
for
AI
it,
is basically like a
Aditya. It's called hallucination. So there is a hallucination is the parameter for AI because it tends to
oh
hallucinate
wow.
what the kind of answers that it's giving, whether it is real based on facts or it's some
And
hype.
people,
But that,
yeah, and people have been doing tests on it. There was a personality test that we were discussing that people have done on it, and it says that it has a multipolar disorder. Like the AI has a multipolar disorder because it has a fragmented personality type. That itself tells you that
it depends
it
upon.
doesn't have,
Yeah, so many people are
yeah, that
training
it
it.
doesn't have like a being, like a quality of being a human being. It can be anything to anybody, and that largely translates to not being a person. So,
Yeah. So a couple of things on that. I think if you look at websites and if you try to sign up anywhere, right, you still see this verification is I am a human, right? It's not really
Yeah,
gone. A lot of it's not really gone beyond that right now.
yeah.
Maybe things will change in the future, and but there's also Detect GPT that has come up, which figures out okay there is the essay written by this person or submitted by a student is AI
Oh wow.
generated essay or not based on because it's all based on the same training data, right? So quite possible that there's a pattern to how it's generating the content. So
Oh,
yeah, it can give you a percentage. You can I think probably you can also
so
submit
it's
your own essay
like a
and see
placement
how
test
much
for
of
AIs.
so
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
copyscape. It's like copyscape, but for like AI. That's
Yeah,
hilarious,
yeah, yeah.
actually.
That's also right. And anyway, there's still a lot of human error. I've seen people who put the disclaimer given by ChatGPT also in their essays. So it's I think we can take some dumbness out of AI, but then there's still people
Yeah,
who will make
yeah.
those mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, my honest biggest worry, since you mentioned data sets, my biggest worry is that there's some AI there which is scrolling, Instagram and YouTube Shorts and thinking that that's the real world, right? That's my that's my real worry that that's basically what's happening. So it's basically like a impressionable young prepubescent child who's being exposed to Instagram and YouTube and thinking that that's what the world really is, right? That's one of the big worries that I have, at least in my head, when it comes to general
It
AI.
will never have
I
it,
mean, but when
it
it
will
comes
never
to
have the intelligence of experiential knowledge, right? Like it will never know the streets of India. It will never know what goes on when you're falling in love with someone, or I mean, it might just say like
Hmm,
read up like Shakespeare and give you an answer, but it will never be able to give you that quality of being that people have. So,
hmm.
and I think that's crucial. That human error makes whatever we're making very unique. So we have to kind of also give value to that error, in a certain way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't wait to see where it goes next. Essentially, I think it's really really interesting. I mean, in terms of so Deepak, this maybe is it's a more technical question. Can you talk to us a little bit about how like this entire AI business actually works, especially when it comes to something like a image generative AI, and when we talk about prompts and we talk about things like
Hmm.
data sets and stuff like that. Can you talk to us a little bit about the technical side of things?
Yeah, so basically, all the Gen AI that we're seeing right now is based upon existing data sets, right? So, data sets are there. You would have images and paintings and whatnot, all kinds of collaterals being stored in a place where somebody would have described it, right? In order for the
Hmm.
AI to know what this image is, it wouldn't know till somebody is training it on it. If tomorrow you send it a picture of a black hole, it won't know that it's a black hole unless there's some guy who has described it perfectly. That show me an image. This is an image of a black hole as seen from a so and so telescope, right? It might be Hubble tomorrow. Today, it might be the James Webb telescope tomorrow, right? So if you want to generate any image on basis of that, it will take into account all the descriptions raised, which raises the another point as well, right, of the training bias that would come into the picture, right? All Gen
Hmm.
AIs do have a training bias basis the kind of people who have trained it in the first place. So tomorrow, it might not, whatever it says, it might not relate to a person, say from who's not well represented in the training society, right? For example, if there's a lack of people from Japan, for example, who are not part of the Gen AI training data, then what they would see or what they would get as an answer would not be something that they could relate to. That's quite a
Hmm.
high possibility. So you need a good mix of everything in order to have the perfect output.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes absolute sense. And I think from that point of view, I think that the tech has to be, I guess, evolving on its own. I think we need to start figuring things out just purely on its tech and kind of figure out how that goes. Uh, Speaking of like evaluation, I mean, oh, sorry, evolution, Aditya, how do you see the creative teams kind of evolving, right? I mean, from a client agency structure that we're talking about in terms of
Yeah.
marketing and so on. Do you see any structural change you think of happening in terms of the evolution of the teams
Yeah.
themselves?
For first thing that I definitely feel is that right now, and we've seen this happen at multiple agencies. In agencies prior to the one that I'm working at as well, there are teams that are designated special, specific things to do. So there is an ideation team, there's a writing team, there's a design team, there is a production team, there's a studio that does collaterals and adaptations and whatnot. um, a lot of these menial processes will kind of be automated in a way. Right now, it's in the form of a prompt. Tomorrow, and we're seeing that already. There are plugins now available that will do that for you. That'll sit on your browser as
Hmm.
an additional uh, you know thing that you can just like instruct and it'll do the job for you. Um, So that I feel is definitely going away, which means more time for ideation, more time for thinking. The
Hmm.
unfortunate thing is the nature of the interaction with the AI is that you want to treat it as if you are wanting to get stuff out of the way. So if that is the objective with which you're going into an AI, you will never be able to like spend the time, the due diligence that you want to
Hmm.
do on a creative piece before it is made.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I do feel that everybody across the board, be it designers, be it creative people, be it producers, directors, people who are doing theater, all kinds of creative folks, they will benefit from competing with AI, because their standards of beauty have to become more rigorous, their standards of truth have to become more rigorous. They will have to be more sophisticated in terms of judging what is creative, what's not, what's been rehashed from
Hmm.
something that's already there. And it that elevates the industry itself. So it's democratizing the way creatives are made. It is also democratizing uh, true value in terms of uniqueness of a person and what he or she may be able to come up with. And it's reducing barriers in terms of what a person individually can do. So I see more as everybody on the field, in the bay, in our creative bay, as now a creative producer in and of itself. They should be able to do the images, they should be able to make the mock-up and the storyboard of the film that is going to be, they should be able to figure out the production design, because all of that can be at least conceptually thought through before it's passed on to people who actually
Hmm.
execute it in the real world. So I think that's very interesting, and everybody would benefit from learning about all of the adjacent fields that they are already working in, so that they can be more rounded as creative individuals, and get the benefit of AI to the best of their ability. Yeah.
Nice. So, I think what you're also basically saying also is that one has to also kind of start to become more well-rounded, educate themselves a little bit more as well, and start think of the bigger picture quite literally when we're talking about image-based AIs, right? When it comes to stuff like that. It's just one more question. I think there's a corollary of this question that goes to kind of Deepak as well. Yeah, but I mean, so just basically, we're thinking about essentially the future when it comes to such kind of technology and creative and so on, right? Where do you see this kind of evolution going, right? Basically.
So, specifically to image AI, I think there's still a lot of human involvement required, right? So, that thing is not going to go away for this. From a more Gen AI perspective, what I see is next, it's going to be more driven towards self awareness, right? So, we've seen things like agent GPTs like come up, which are basically going to be you say okay what you want to do, and it will create the goals or the different points for it, and it will also run the commands to generate that. So it will be a multitude of different things, different tools that it can integrate with and deliver the input. So basically a single person can work as an entire team in that aspect.
So let's say for example there's a brand manager or a technical team or basically a team that works as a part of, let's say, a company, right, or an individual brand or whatever, and they're looking at getting into the use of AI not just in one space but like a widespread space. But let's say you're starting off at one level, like what is your advice for like a brand manager or a tech lead or whatever it might be when it comes to a, let's say, company getting into it first?
Okay, so what I would see is basically AI is basically automating most of the tasks or the menial tasks that you have, right? So we would say divide it into the things that can be automated, made it easier. From a brand manager perspective, I would say marketing campaigns can be targeted much better when you use Gen AI. You understand the profile of the customer and you create the specific what do you say collaterals at runtime. So the images can be generated at runtime basis the preferences and the profile of the customer that you've already done.
So when you talk about runtime, do you see any changes to the technology stack at the client's end? Do you think that they should be making or starting to think about making changes to the technology stack going forward?
Yeah, sure. See, I'll tell you how. Say, for example, it's a particular product that you are looking at, right? For money, you've seen that okay, the background of the product has to change, the placement of the product has to change for everything. I think Netflix is already using something to that lines when it generates the thumbnail that you see, right? The basic thumbnail that you see for your content is something that you would this person who's particularly watching is more likely to click on and watch. So it there's a bit of AI that has come into everything where you will be getting it. And the same thing goes for marketing also. The you would want more clicks on the marketing content that you share, right? And it's gonna be catered to every customer, to every viewer at their own end.
Okay, so but what that means is, let's say for example, I've got a website, right, and let's say I'm selling, for example, a skincare product, right? And it's a e-commerce website, but it's also got a whole bunch of content on it. What we need to, just from what I'm gonna do creative with Aditya, but just from the tech perspective, what you're saying is that we have to have the ability to understand that the AI is likely to create hundreds of millions of options for hundreds of millions of people, and we need to find a way to kind of understand that that's going to happen, and the stack has to be able to manage that.
Yes.
That's kind of what you're saying,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's definitely because it's going to be for in the end, it's all going to be driven by revenues, right? Your revenues are going to be driven by how many people come, stay, buy, and that's what marketers have been trying to do for a long time. And probably, I
Yeah,
hope this is going to be assisting them.
What's interesting is
yeah, I hope.
that we already have marketing automation as part of our services, and one of the discrepancies in working in that medium has been that while a lot of the technology is automated and we can create personalization at scale for a lot of the users, the creative aspect of it is still kind of slightly manually driven. Now there are technologies that are coming up that are
Hmm.
building in this AI into digital asset management tools that companies already have, so that there's a generative quality to it, that you can do more scale from a creative perspective, and that parity between technology and creativity kind of remains as you're reaching out to customers. At the same time, after a point, we have to see if everybody is doing the same thing and it's the same AI being trained. How do you distinguish yourself? So you have to train it
Yeah.
uniquely, I suppose. So there's a lot of rigorous consultation that has to happen from creatives with respect to how you're training the AI and making sure that there's a enduring value to your brand proposition, to how you've conceptualized the creatives and the campaign for them, so that it can last for a while and while still remaining uniquely you, as a brand. Yeah.
That's actually a great business idea, by the way. And this is for all the agencies slash folk listening, that you can start a vertical called AI training, which you can basically sell as a service to your clients, right? And for all you client folk who are looking for people who want to help train the AI that you're installing, we're here for you, right? To help you kind of train the AIs that you create. That was awesome. That was awesome, guys. I think it was a brilliant discussion. So before we kind of let our guests go, we do like a quick fire session. So I'm going to ask you all some quick fire questions, and don't think too much. Answer quickly. The more scandalous the answer, the better. As long as you don't cuss,
I
it's
hope the
fine.
AI is not listening to this.
So I'm pretty sure some of our phones will start showing us advertisements with respect to AI in just a little bit, since all our phones are next to us. But at the end of the day, that's what we're looking at. Cool. So I'm gonna just answer the question. Maybe we can do Deepak first, Aditya second. I'll just keep answering questions as fast as you can. Should we go?
Yeah, sure, man.
All right. So fire shots begins. So if not what you're doing right now, what would you do?
I would probably not be as much into technology if given my love for football. Probably I'll be doing my certifications. I plan to do my certifications for coaching and then probably start coaching kids over weekends and try to go do something out of it. I think need a tech
Sunil Chetty,
vacation
look
as well
out.
sometimes.
Sunil Chetty, look out. Deepak is on the way. That's awesome.
Yep.
Aditya, how about you?
Well, honestly, I would think about going the exact opposite direction. AI is already making us starved for screens and more screen time. So I would do something related to ecology. Maybe go for botany or do a gardening course and cultivate like a greenhouse at home or something. Anything that brings me closer to
Wow,
nature and away from all of this, so that I can still enjoy my state of being while yeah.
that's awesome. That's actually pretty much opposite of me. Like I totally enjoy the fact that people walk past me in the city and bump into me and cuss at me, and I'm totally happy with that. Right? Just that's just that's just the way I am. All right, awesome. Question number two, Deepak, what is the best life slash career advice you've gotten so far?
Best life career advice. Oh my god, I'll have to think about it. No, so far,
Quickly, quickly.
basically what I've seen is I have just be true to your strong points. Keep working on our weaknesses. I think for me, the basic thing is to get the team together, right? So build a team that works together, well, works together. That's already always been my primary focus. I think gotten it from all the mentors that I have had so far. They've been great to me, and I'm trying to see if I can also do the same for my team.
That's awesome. Aditya, what's the best life slash career
Man,
advice you've gotten
I'm
so far?
already like undergoing combinatorial explosion. Like as an AI, probably an AI would be able to handle that question and give you an instant response. I feel so stuck because there's been so many generous people who've been gratified. I've been really blessed to have like teachers and mentors who've been very helpful. I would say that one thing that I keep going back to, because it's almost like a cautionary piece of advice, is that people who are highly intelligent are also the most prone to self deception. So somebody just sparked that with me once, and I feel that probably says a lot
Wow,
about
that's
AI as well. So yeah.
yeah. Wow, that's actually really really
But
interesting.
Aditya,
Right?
there's two
Sorry,
things,
please.
two ways to it. I think I've also heard that a lot of actually intelligent people don't even know. They think that this is the norm. I mean, what they're going through, they wouldn't even know that they are somebody like exceptional in that matter. They would feel that everybody else is also going to be that exceptional.
Yeah, yeah, that happens, I guess. Awesome. Last fire shot question. So if you were to invite people to your house for a dinner party and you could choose any four people that you wanted to, living or dead, it doesn't matter. Let's say it's like a hypothetical metaverse where everybody is alive, and you could invite any four people to a dinner party. Deepak, who would they be?
What's the menu like?
What's
Anything you want, my friend. Anything you want.
like not
We have
interested in
an
people
AI
altogether.
robot
He's
that
like,
is designed.
what's for
We have
food?
an
Tell me
AI
what's for
robot that
food.
understands the palate, understands what you've eaten, right? And basis that is going to design the menus. Whatever you want.
Yeah, I think probably I think it would they would probably from different fields. I'm not sure what kind of conversations would be there, but yeah, I said I would like to know more about music from how Rahman thinks about music and how he brings in, and I think probably he's the first person to get into the new technologies that are coming up, right? So he'll probably use Gen AI for music someplace. From a more perspective of movie making, I would like to know how Christopher Nolan actually designs. I think his storyboarding for movies is excellent. The way they go in a non-linear manner in terms of time and in terms of narration, I think is exceptional. I would like to know how to get a conversation going with him. I mean, to build entire stories out of it is great. Two more people, right? I'll probably think about some more. I'll have to get two more people. I'll take a rain check on
These are
those
called
two.
fire shots. The first thing that comes to your mind, my friend. The
I would
first
like to
things
add
that
to the
come to your
menu he
mind.
asked. Shrikant, it could be the menu that you suggested. What is that? Ikirachi ramen. That could be the menu.
Ikiracho.
Ichiraku ramen.
Sriraman,
Yeah.
yes, that's definitely a lot. I don't know if I have never even thought about inviting people over for dinner, I leave that to my wife, who needs to be invited. So for me, this is sure shot, the quick
All
fire
right, all
round for
right. I
me.
think there are two great choices though, Rahman and Rahman. Who's the second one you said? I forgot.
Nolan,
Nolan, right?
yeah,
Rahman,
yeah.
Nolan. I think two great choices. I'm sure Nolan will explain his hairpin idea when it comes
I still
to
have to understand Tenet from him.
like. Yeah, I think a lot of people have to understand Tenet. It's a bit like learning AI. All right, Aditya,
Yeah.
same question. Dinner party, people, who
Well,
do you invite?
being like a creative at heart, I would want explosives to happen, right? Like, you want the four people, you want it to be a good story, right? So more than, just
That,
like self-interested, like, oh, I want to learn from this person, I'll probably have the most eclectic mix of people that I can think of. So I'll start with someone interesting. So let's say Gandhi. Um, I'll pair him
oh,
with some comedian, let's say Dave Chappelle, maybe. Then add probably someone like Raki Sawant to the mix. Right. So there are three,
oh
like there's
boy.
already a fair amount of like, explosives that are going to happen because of that. And who else? Who could be the fourth person? Oh, well, if it's going to be live streamed or like if people are going to know about it.
Me,
Yeah.
I will be the fourth person. I want to see that dinner,
Amazing.
dude. That's
Amazing. You're
awesome.
I think
invited.
it's gonna be a dinner extended to a Big Boss scenario. I think you're going for that.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a reality
Who's
TV.
gonna be eliminated
Yeah.
first?
MTV presents Aditya's Big Boss. That's hilarious.
Great.
That would
Yeah.
be incredible. All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Aditya. Thank you so much, Deepak. Thank you, Dr. Meenal. It's been an awesome time. 40 odd minutes of conversation. Hopefully, you all had a good time. If there's any parting thoughts, either of you want to leave our audience with, if there's any thoughts you have, if there's anything you want to leave them, the floor is yours.
I would say that for the entire audience, I think this is a great opportunity that we have, right? It's something not very privileged. It's something that is accessible to all. I think people need to put in some efforts to learn, to make mistakes on it, not get frustrated by technology. I think this is the easiest that technology can get for anybody so far in what I've seen, right? And definitely try to see where you can incorporate it into your life. It is going to make things easier. The next wave of it's not going to be like AI is going to take people's jobs. What I feel is people who can make best use of AI are going to take people's jobs. So that is what everybody needs to focus and start learning on. So embrace it. It's not something to be afraid of. What I feel.
For me, I would say something like,
Awesome.
I mean, it's going to reframe a lot of like our life objectives. So instead of like, what job do you want to get or will I be able to get that? I would rather really push people to think about what do they want to do, like, blue sky in this life, and like, what are their like innermost like desires, not the perverse ones, but that they want to achieve. And yeah, and have AI be a tool that kind of not takes away from that, so like gives you a shortcut to reaching there, but rather a depth of meaning in that process of engaging with it, and trying to reach there. So as closer as it can bring you to reality, however paradoxical that may sound, I think that's the way to go about it.
Awesome. Awesome. So great parting words from our two amazing guests. Thank you, gentlemen, again for being a part of this podcast. And thank you to all of our audience members and people who tried taking the time to listen to us over the last 40 minutes or so. Hope we've added some value to your day. We'll be having the captions and the description along with it. You can find us in all the online places where you can typically find podcasts, and we'll be sharing those links with you as well. So thank you and have a great week.